I remember the owner of the Master Burger used to tell us he basically wouldn't allow the members of the community to hang out at all. He even removed the seats so people had to order they shouldn't go. I remember that being young, like feeling like, how dare you? And now he's our tenant. He pay us rent every month.
What's up, fam? Matthew Sewell here, Real Estate Plug, your realtor and investment strategist, back with another episode of Rap and Real Estate, where we talk artists, their lyrics, and the references to all things real estate. So let's get into it. So I'm super excited about today's episode because today we're gonna cover one of my favorite artists of all times who's been dropping gems throughout the entirety of his career. And this artist is none other than the late Nipsey Hussle the Great. Now, in this song, Racks in the Middle, featuring Roddy, Ricch, and Hitboy, he drops the entire song is full of game, but a couple of lines that we're gonna cover specifically talks about commercial real estate and investing and enterprising. So let's get into it. Hey Siri, play Racks in the Middle.
Now playing Racks in the Middle, featuring Roddy, Ricch, and Hitboy single by Nipsey Hussle.
Closing Escrow twice this month, both commercial units. Blade music and best. Enterprise, take lucrative steps.
Hey Siri, pause. So the first line we're gonna cover is closing escrow twice this month, both commercial units. Now, that's a boss move on any account. To be able to sell two properties, to buy two properties, to buy and sell a property simultaneously is boss. Or even one right after the other. Whatever the case, 2 in a month is a big deal. And shout out to Nipsey Hussle for setting that out and accomplishing that. And we're gonna get into exactly what kind of property it was here in a second. But an escrow is a financial arrangement usually made for large purchases, which two parties come together and they enlist the help of a third party, which is usually the escrow company or an escrow agent. And that escrow company or agent is neither the buyer nor the seller. They're just there to make sure that everything goes according to plan, to make sure that the money gets transferred as it should, to make sure that the documents are done as they should, and they hold on to any other assets that are a part of the transaction until the deed is done or until the escrow is closed. So when escrow's been closed, that means that both parties got exactly what they came for. If you're the seller, that means you got the money or whatever you were exchanging your property for. If you're the buyer, that means that you got the property that you had came for. So closing escrow twice on commercial units means that he successfully completed 2 transactions in which he bought commercial property. Now, commercial property, we've talked about that a little bit in previous episodes, but commercial property is property that's used specifically for the purpose of business. So if you own a commercial property, chances are you yourself are running a business out of said property, or you're leasing it to somebody else who's also more than likely running a business out of said property. There's a million different types of commercial properties. There's retail spaces, there's office spaces, hotels, restaurants like McDonald's, which we'll talk about that a little bit later. But there's a bunch of them. And for Nipsey Hussle, it made sense for him to purchase that complex that his Marathon store was in. So he bought that complex, and also it was the Fat Burger that was right next to it. He joined into a partnership with the existing owners for. And I did a little bit of research, quick facts. I did a little bit of research and I was able to find out when he bought the property, how much he bought it for, where it is, and who loaned him the money to purchase the property for the undisclosed amount. And if you have to know, shoot me a message and we can talk about it. But what I'm really excited about is how he actually purchased it. So it looks like one of his corporations loaned his other corporation the money to purchase the property, which is boss. Whoa. Super dope. He talks about vertical integration all the time, and that's exactly what that is. Being able to be a part of the entire process. And we'll go more into detail about that later. So if you have a commercial space, either you yourself are running a business out of it or you're leasing it to somebody else who's running a business out of it. Now, there's a few different types of leases, which if you're interested in learning about those, give me a call, shoot me a message, or check my website. We're gonna go over those on the website. But there's a few different types, and not all are created equal. So just know what you're getting yourself into before you get yourself into what you're getting yourself into. So just to sum everything up, let's say that you are buying your very own commercial property. Congratulations, the time has come. Now, after we've found the property that you liked, and we've put an offer in and it's gotten accepted, we're gonna take our earnest money deposit, which is usually 1% of the purchase price, to the escrow office. Now that can be done via cashier's check, or it can be wired. I usually suggest wiring it because it's seamless. Now we take that to the escrow office. They make sure that everything is good. They're gonna check the seller's documents to make sure that he actually owns the property or that he has the right to sell it. And if we're getting a loan to purchase the property, our lender is gonna send the escrow company our documents, and they're all gonna make sure that everything checks out so both parties get what they came for and nobody gets gypped. So that third party, being the escrow company, is really there as a safeguard to make sure that everything goes according to plan. The escrow company is also gonna check to make sure that there are no easements, judgments, or other liens against the property. Now, if there's a lien against that property, that means that somebody else has a claim, has a financial interest in said property, and it could not make sense for us to purchase that property. So getting that title check is crucial, all right? So that's why it's a good thing to have an escrow company involved as that third party that is there to safeguard the transaction. So after the closing, the escrow company is actually responsible for making sure that the new legal owner's documents have been recorded at the courthouse, because that makes everything official. Now, quick note, if you're buying a property, residential, land, commercial, industrial, whatever the case, and the seller says that they want to go with whatever title company, you don't have to go with that title company, but you do have to agree on one. So keep that in mind. The next line, Nipsey says,
Bleed music, invest. Enterprise, take lucrative steps.
Which to me means that music is just in your veins. It's a part of you. It could also be taken a couple of other different ways, but I'm gonna go with the part that it's in you. And for me personally, I literally every day I wake up with a song in my head, and it's incessant. It kind of drives me crazy that I always have a song in my head, or if I hear somebody say words, I'm referencing them back to, you know, a song where those lyrics came from. Or I've always got something going on in my head. It's kind of crazy, but it is who I am. So I think that's what he's saying when he says bleed music. Invest is kind of self-explanatory. And he says enterprise and take lucrative steps. So there are a million ways for you to invest, and the right ones are going to depend on you. How much knowledge you have, how much risk you're willing to take, how much money you have, and your time goals. If you're willing to play the long game, then you might want to jump into the stock market. If you're looking to play the short game, then it might be flipping a house. It might be flipping a car. It could be a number of things, and it's all going to depend on what you know, who you have around you, who you can pull information from, and what you're willing to do for said investment. So if you're a creative, one of the best ways to invest is investing in yourself. If you want to do music, then learn how to do Pro Tools, go buy the program, go buy a microphone, go buy some music equipment. If you're a photographer or videographer, that means grabbing a camera and grabbing some editing software. But investing in yourself is monumental to the process of getting a return on your investment. Even if you're going to invest in other things, you should actually invest in yourself first, which would be taking the time to learn about these things so that you can maximize your return on investment. But speaking of investing in other things, there are existing structures that can provide a healthy return on your investment, depending on the amount of risk that you want to take, which would be savings bonds, CDs or certificates of deposits. There's 401ks, there's mutual funds, there's REITs, aka real estate investment trust. There's also Roth IRAs, and the list goes on. And again, which ones are right for you are going to depend on how much knowledge you have, how much you're willing to invest, how much risk you're willing to take, and your time goals. So if you're looking to invest, I would say link up with somebody who has a successful history of doing so. Read a book, listen to audiobooks, or listen to artists that are talking about investing, right? Or better yet, get a financial advisor, because these people are actually put in place to give you information on financial literacy and making the best of your investments. And since I mentioned 401ks, 401ks are a bunch of different stocks picked out by your company. They're actually like mutual funds, and you don't really have control over which ones are which. So if you have a 401k given to you by your company, you may be actually able to move a certain amount of that money into what Fidelity would call a brokerage link, and from there you can actually pick the stocks that you want to put your money into. I did it when I was working at AT&T a while ago, and it's proven to be very beneficial. So I would suggest that you look into that if you've done your research and you've got a good idea of what you want to invest in. That's an option for you. Your 401k money doesn't have to ride where your company says it does. You can actually pick. Enterprise, take lucrative steps. The actual definition of enterprise is having or showing initiative or resourcefulness. Now, that's exactly what's needed when starting a business. And actually the word enterprise is a business or a company. And taking lucrative steps would mean taking steps that actually make sense. Double entendre, sense and sense. So if it's not going to be valuable to you, then it's not lucrative. All right, so taking lucrative steps. Now, I mentioned vertical integration previously, and this is the best way to enterprise. So remember when I said that Nipsey Hussle had a corporation that loaned his other corporation the money? That's being vertically integrated. Being vertically integrated means controlling more than one piece of the puzzle in which you have ownership. So if you're a vegan restaurant, that means that you might be the farm that's selling your restaurant the fruits and vegetables. And then it might mean that you're also doing the packaging. You're selling yourself the packaging or the sauces to sell to the customers. So it's really about being integrated in different parts of your business to capitalize on your clientele. So again, remember I mentioned McDonald's. McDonald's is the king of vertical integration, because not only do they own the land and the building that they're leasing to the franchisees, they're selling the food. So they're getting a cut off not only the space, the land, they're getting a cut of the food and a number of other things that they're taking a cut off of. So being vertically integrated is the best way to enterprise and take lucrative steps. And you heard it from Nipsey. So taking lucrative steps just means that you're doing things that make sense for you, because what makes sense for somebody else might not make sense for you. So I would say chickadee check yourself before you wreck yourself or indebt yourself. There's a million things to take into consideration when starting a business. And again, you do not have to reinvent the wheel. You can grab somebody else's blueprint that's done it successfully for years. So if you want to have a restaurant and you want to franchise it out, who better to look to than McDonald's? They've been running that game for years, and it's worked very well. There are plenty of businessmen and women who have been laying blueprints for years. So again, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, but what you do have to do is find what works best for you. It's been in the music, it's been in the books, so read something and listen closely, because it pays to pay attention. And with that being said, if you have any questions on buying or selling property, investing, or anything else that we've discussed today, do not hesitate to hit me up. Again, my name is Matthew Sewell. I'm your real estate plug, and I'm here with you and for you. Bow.